Slab Roller, which is going to allow you the opportunity to roll slabs of clay very quickly and very efficiently. Additionally, you'll have the chance of picking the thickness of your slab using the measurement guide. First thing we want to do is make sure that our canvas pieces are nice and cleaned up. If it's been a while since it's been used, it's possible there's some dry clay on it, and you're going to want to make sure to give it a clear off before you get rolling slab. If you don't go through this process, anything that's left on the canvas pieces could possibly indent your clay and make your slab less than perfect. So give it a quick cleanup. If ever it gets chunks of clay on it, you'll just want to be mindful, and you want to check both sides, top and bottom. There are two pieces of canvas here, and the clay will sit in between them as they go through the rollers. If you don't have the pieces of canvas, the clay will get stuck on the metal roller and cause problems. Speaking of the roller, you also want to make sure that the roller is free and clear of any big particles of clay. Similarly to the canvas, if there's any bumps of clay on the roller, it's going to press into your clay and make it look really ugly. Let's talk about the roller as a whole. So we've got the slab table. This is where the clay sits. We've got a measurement guide on the inside, which tells you how thick the roll of clay is. There is a black line at the 3/8 of an inch mark, where we say for the most part that's a good place to live. You could go slightly skinnier than that if you like, to have a little bit more delicate of a slab. You've got your turner wheels up top here. When you go to the right, it will get smaller or skinnier, and when you go to the left, it will open up the roller and it will be thicker. So you can kind of play with some of those dimensions to understand how thick or thin you want your slab. On the right side is the wheel. The wheel is going to be what turns the clay through. And the most important thing to take note of is that there is what's called a roll pin right on the inside of the wheel. It's a tiny little metal pin, and that is what makes the magic happen. That roll pin is incredibly fragile, and if that pin breaks or falls out, the slab roller will not work. There is nothing to hold the compression in there. So you want to be very gentle, careful, and not try to go from too thick of a piece of clay to too thin all in one fell swoop. It'll put pressure on the pin and cause it to break, and then we won't have a slab roller to work with. So the first thing we're going to do is open up the top canvas piece so that we have access to the inside. Now I have a piece of clay that I have taken right from the brick. Now the nice thing about taking it right from the brand new brick of clay is that there are no air bubbles, which is quite nice. Now when you're rolling slab and we're working with thinner sheets of clay, you can feel confident that if it's directly from a brick, that it's not going to have any air bubbles, especially since you would see it at that thinner thickness of slab. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to give it a little bit of a head start by using the heavy part of your palm and your core muscles and of course arm strength to start to flatten out. Now I've taken a pretty good sized piece of clay because I want to roll a big slab, so you could be aware for about how much you're going to need based on what you know already about the slab. And I'm kind of just making it into a bit of a pancake to get started. So I'm going to get my clay set up, and I'm going to now place the top piece of canvas over it, so it's going to hide right in the middle. Now the first thing to note is right now we have a very thick slab of clay, so we're going to want to open up our roller pretty dramatically for at least the first pass through. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to go from too thick to too thin in one swoop. Not only does it put pressure on the pin, you don't get a nice clean roll. You're going to make multiple passes through the slab roller to get it to the thickness you want. So you're going to push it until you feel the clay catch on the roller. You're then going to use the roller like a steering wheel and help it through. Now it doesn't have much pressure because of where that thickness was, So I'm gonna close it up a little bit. A couple twists usually does the trick to now start to thin out that clay. The nice thing is you're gonna be able to check it each time you pull it through, and you can see that the clay is starting to thin out. Now you're gonna wanna ask yourself what it is you're making. If you wanted a nice big circle, you're gonna wanna flip and rotate this piece of clay so that you could start to make a big wide surface area. If you're making a long platter that needs to be really long and not super wide, you would keep going back and forth and keep it the same orientation. So for a mug, I would make sure that you have enough surface area for the body, the base, and a handle. But if you are making a large platter, you need to ask yourself, what shape do you ultimately want to end with? Now I've flipped and rotated it because I want kind of a large surface area. And again, I'm gonna do a couple more twists. I'm gonna push until I feel it catch, and then I am going to push the wheel until I feel it go all the way through. Again, now you could go to each side and go back and forth that way. I like to just stay on one. I've got my hand here and I'm helping it along. I'm pulling it while I'm pulling the wheel. And this kind of gives it a little bit of a guide to see where we're at. So let's check it again. So we can see it's grown in size. It's also thinned out a little bit. And again, similarly, I'm going to twist and rotate it so that I have a much larger surface area to work with. So I'm going to continue this process until I get the desired thickness. Again, the more passes through, the cleaner your slab is going to be, and the less pressure you're going to put on the slab roller, keeping it alive for a lot longer. So you got to just be patient with the process. You'll get better as time goes on using the slab roller. Just like everything with ceramics, it just takes time and practice and patience. This should never be difficult to push. If it's difficult to push or pull, it means that you're trying to go from too thick of a clay to too thin too rapidly. So it should be firm but not difficult. You can see how easy it is for me to roll it. So now you have a nice beautiful slab of clay, where of course you could take a damp sponge and gently clean it up like we've done on many other slab projects, and ultimately you'd be able to pick this up very gently, not super tight grip, just a gentle grip, and you'd be able to walk with it to your table so that you can continue on with the project from there. And that is the Shimpo Slab Roller.